Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to episode 147 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast, where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Tonight, we're going to be talking about ways to chip away at your next rating, kind of like the trip, fall, succeed method to new ratings. But before we get started into that, I want to catch up with everybody. Gentlemen, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
Not as good as you. We haven't been, in the Riviera.
Well, yeah, it was great. It was a fun time. But I can honestly say I am really glad to be back home. In Europe, the bottle caps, you have a water bottle, the caps don't come all the way off. So you're always hitting your nose with the bottle cap. So that's, one problem. But I will say, I don't know that I could ever eat pasta stateside again, unless it's homemade, because it was really, really good. Food over there is top notch, but glad to be back. What have you guys been up to? Brian, are you doing any flying lately?
Yeah, we finally got out of a bit of a maintenance period where we had pulled the plane down to handle. You know how there's that you have your annual, and then you have your things that you've got to do, and then you have your things that are what's it called? Kicking the can? Deferred.
Kicking the can, deferred,
and
all work.
Since it's been about 6 months since the annual, and it was just a good time to wrap up a bunch of those things. So we got a bunch of those things done, which is fantastic. And then, I guess the highlights would include, one was flying down to, I want to say it's 3 Mike 5, but I can't remember. It's Moontown in Brownsboro, Alabama. And what an incredible grass strip. What a great place. I really wanted to go down there this weekend for the flying they had. But when I went there last Friday, it was so beautiful. It's just an incredible strip. It's all, Bermuda grass. It's very, very nice. It's I think the runway is 2,100 feet. So that was so far the shortest runway that I've been on in Cherokee 180.
Kind of have to be on your A game for that.
Or like B plus game, but no, I mean, you and there's terrain, and you got to pay attention to what's going on. So it was a very rewarding place to land, and it's a public use place, privately owned. And I was able to text the owner the owner and get a report on the grass. It had just been mowed the day before. Perfect. Coming on in. And no one was there, so it was one of those experiences where you walk around and I don't know, you just feel like you're in another world or something, and you're going and looking at all the kind of ghost planes laying around and, just kind of
like being in the desert.
A little bit like that, and then, and then took off out of there, and, Lucy just did great. I mean, really, really good short field, soft field performance. I love that plane so much. And it was really interesting too, to take the data and put it into FlyStow after to really see what the performance was. And it was awesome. So anyway, that was a great experience. I did go over to the Southern Air, which is a little place west of here, about 30 minutes, and did another sort of short runway drop in with a restaurant there. So I did some kind of, messing around, kind of flying. Big trip I took was me and Tailwheel CFII Ben flew from John Toon here in Nashville to a place called Sandwich, Illinois.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great name.
And what a neat place. And it was a private airport that we landed at. And it was one of those kind of TED airports, where the runway is a sidewalk, with like bike racks, But
Yeah.
it really wasn't that small. But I mean, it was, it's one of those like kind of, wow, they wouldn't allow you to build this like this now kind of airports. It's been there for a long time. Beautiful place. Went up there just for a quick overnight. Came back all in one shot, had tailwinds coming back. It was just a great trip all around, perfect weather. Plane did great. One quick thing I want to say real quick to conclude my flying update is this. When you passed your check ride, so anybody listening, if you're training right now and you haven't passed your private pilot check ride, that feeling, everybody will attest to being just the greatest feeling. And I would imagine that there's no rating that ever feels as good as just getting that private, or sport or whatever, passing your first check ride and just being allowed to participate in aviation. Right.
Yeah.
All that to be said, it's a cliche, but it's real. It's a license to learn. And so really, and there is sort of the Dunning-Kruger effect kind of thing, right? Where you get out there and then you're in that sort of melt stupid period for a while, a couple 100 hours, 300 hours, maybe even up to like 300 or 400 hours. You're still learning a lot, whether you kind of realize it or not, and picking up a lot of habits, hopefully good ones. And then you kind of just level out and you get to a point where you're just operationally flying, and that's great. I will tell you this. I experienced something after our trip to Sandwich, which, by the way, I got a bunch of simulated instrument time and dual received and was helpful towards my pursuit, which we'll talk about later as at least my part of the conversation we're about to have in terms of chipping away at your next rating. But I just wanted to say this, and I know that Ben, Tailwheel Ben, listens to this podcast sometimes, so I hope that he hears this. But we had a conversation the day after we got back, and he said, he took the time to sort of pause and say, look, I just wanted to tell you something. He said, you are a really good pilot. And he said, further, that, he would trust me to fly his family somewhere without him, or, that kind of thing. And he just, and then he kind of broke down a little bit about how I did this and how I did that. And, what, this was good. And I have to say, that was a moment for me as a pilot, because it was heavy and it meant a lot from somebody that I very much respect, that has a lot more skills than I do and all that. And I felt like I kind of arrived as a pilot in a different way, but it felt very similar to the check ride passing in a way. We weren't flying in this, we were having fun, right? We were not in this critical environment for 3 hours each way or whatever. We were having fun with it, but you can't help but evaluate, how somebody's flying. And so anyway, all that to be said, I just realized, and I'm curious about other people maybe in the chat or that are listening, if you've had other moments where you just realize that that you kind of get, this happens with music, like where, if you're playing with Miles Davis and then you solo and he doesn't kick you out of the band, or whatever,
Right.
It's like there's moments where you just kind of realize that you've put your best in front of somebody that's better than you, and they said, good job. It really means something on a different level.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all those trips were great. A lot of great flying, and that's generally my update, but shout out.
So it's kind of like you hit a milestone without knowing that milestone existed.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I get it. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me that I was a really good pilot, and that's fine. I'm sure it'll come eventually.
You're like the barometer for me, right? Like you're the North Star for me. So anyway, yeah.
Well, there's one, I guess. Ted, how about I want to go ahead and give you a shout out. Your Alvord Desert.
Alvord Desert. Yes.
It was I had so many things that I wanted to put in the comments, and I thought, I probably should leave. That was a really, really cool video. And I have like a list. So the next time I come out to Portland and you and I go flying, which we still haven't done yet, but we will.
Yeah.
I'm making my list of places that I want to go with you, and that might have to be one of them.
Yeah. It's a kind of a magical place, and I'd never been there because it's so hard to get to if you drive there. And to just fly over there, it's amazing. And I don't know. I didn't think of it as being that different than the video got a little popular, and I was like, oh, okay. Every other video is flying into an airport, and all airports look roughly the same, and that one isn't.
I got to tell, and to tease a little bit, there's a moment you're in a dry lake desert, or dry lake bed, desert conditions. And there was a moment when you land, and I'm pretty sure you completed the entire after landing checklist while the plane was still rolling.
Yeah.
You had the door open, you're ready to go to get out because everything was completely done that you needed to do.
I took a picture of the hobs, which I always do when I shut down, and so I could shut it off. Yeah.
I was waiting for you just to break out a loaf of bread, some peanut butter, start making that.
Yeah.
While the plane's still rolling, because he was not going to use the brakes no matter what, because he didn't need to. He had 14 miles of runway left.
Exactly. So. Yeah. I actually thought that I was hearing like noise. You're not used to just rolling along over not a perfectly smooth surface, but relatively smooth. I was hearing noises, and so that's why I opened the door and you see me stick my head out. So it was like, what is this? What's the tire sound that I hear? I was like, oh, that's just normal sound. It's just, when would you ever hear that with the engine off and rolling? Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other flying you've been up to?
I've been doing a little bit, but we'll talk about it in this episode. But I logged some nighttime, which, as a sport pilot without a medical, is not something you can do. And I had an instructor with me, and went and logged some actual night landings. And
whoa, that's awesome! Yeah, great.
Yeah, it was weird for sure. It's like just wasn't comfortable with it, which is fine. But it was a great experience, and strangely, it was still turbulent. I was really hoping to just have just dead calm weather at night, but whatever. It was fun to do.
Did you stay in the pattern, or did you?
No. We jumped all over town.
So how was it for you finding airports in the dark?
We couldn't find this giant airport because the lighting of it is so directional.
Right.
And finally we saw the beacon flashing. And I've done some night flying before, but when I saw the beacon, it's like, well, we're just going to fly toward it, and eventually we'll see the runways. And pretty much we're right on top of them before the lights meant anything. But generally, I mean, the rest of them are, you can pick them out.
Yeah. It's in the cities that you have a hard time with. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, well, with the sport limitation, without an instructor, could you just taxi around town?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There is a thing of, when you read Killing Zone, especially, and although he doesn't talk about it very directly, but it seems like there is a class of pilots who generally have lost their license, lost their medical, whatever, who crash the plane, and it's always from fast taxiing down the runway, and somehow they took off and did half a pattern and then crashed, and it's like, were they really just fast taxiing? So I always have that thought. Although I did change the brakes on the plane today, and so I actually asked to do fast taxis down the runway, and it was kind of fun. So I'm not used to doing that at a towered airport, right? It's like, I just want to buzz the runway, so it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
I've done a fair amount of flying prior to my trip, and then a little bit after. We'll talk about the pre-trip flying in our discussion, but I actually did something I haven't done in a while on Saturday. It had been 15 days since I'd been behind the yoke of an airplane.
Yeah.
And I did this thing, I believe you'll call it pattern work.
Yeah.
I went so there's an airport pretty close to McCollum, Cherokee. That would be Charlie November India, for those of you keeping track. It's got the runway, if you're landing 2-3, there's a slope to the first third of the runway, maybe the first quarter of the runway. And it's pretty decent slope, and then it flattens out. So it's like you go up a hill and then it just flattens out to the point where the automated weather, they have a recording that says if you're at that end of the runway, you may not hear other people on frequency because you lose line of sight.
Wow.
So we had been doing some multi-training and going to that airport, and that runway, just that particular designated runway 23, always kind of gave me fits. So I went and did some practices at that airport, did 2 or 3 landings, came back to McCollum, did a couple of landings. So yeah, didn't bend anything. The beast is running fantastic right now. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice to get up, get a little bit of air therapy. Wow.
Did you do any just pulling the engine on taxi and just listening to the plane?
Well, I hadn't seen Ted's video prior to that, so I'm going to do that for my next one.
Yeah.
Have you been flying multi?
So yeah, and we can get into that. I have been.
Yeah.
Let's tackle our events and announcements before we dive into that, and then we'll move right along. So a couple of things that are coming down the pike that we want to let everybody know about. We're not saying that we're necessarily going to be there, but there's a good chance that 1 or 2 or all of us, well, I don't know, will be there. But want to mention that we had a couple of our listeners get together up in the Northeast, I believe, somewhere.
Yeah, in Virginia, Williamsburg. That was Zach R., Charlie Golf Sierra, and Bitshifter. And so they posted a picture to Discord, and that was awesome. It's like, great. People are meeting up and blaming us for it. This is cool.
And I freaking love that. So keep us posted for all of you out there that are listening to us that are on the Discord and have meetups. Let us know about it, and so definitely send us pictures.
Yeah.
Next Saturday, I am going to be flying into Triple Tree, South Carolina. We've mentioned this place in the past, but this is a 7,000-foot grass runway, 200 feet wide. And they bring a pretty big number of airplanes in. And you'll see DC-3s there. You'll see all kinds of airplanes. And they actually do have an arrival procedure for you to fly in on. So go to their website. If you just do a Google search for Triple Tree, you can get the details there. And I may have one of our listeners be joining us.
Well, I'm also one of the hosts.
Well, you haven't committed to it yet, so.
Well, I'm just trying to keep people on their toes.
Well, definitely. I would really like it if you did come down because you need to see this place. But so our French pilot in Georgia may be joining us. He's a local Atlantan. Also coming up in October, we have Music City Stoll, which I may be committing to come up to. There's the Swift fly-in, and then we're kind of starting to play around with ideas for the next Midlife pilot fly-in for the springtime. So, and thank you, Brian. The Swift fly-in is at Mike, India. That's
Athens,
Tennessee. So,
yeah. And that's about a 3 or 4 day event. I mean, that's a pretty cool event. I will definitely be at Music City Stoll. I'm happy to shout them out. People that are involved with that are our listeners too. So we're excited to just have that be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come up for that. I mean, I participate in it, but I'll definitely be up there.
It's an incredibly well run event. I mean, even just if you're not even able to attend, just their broadcast alone it's a professional sports broadcast. I mean, it is very well shot, drones and the whole thing. And it's a treat to even just watch. So
cool.
Yeah, very cool. And as far as the next Midlife Pilot podcast fly-in, looking at springtime, if you have a dog in the hunt or would like us to host or careful with my words,
please,
to have a collectively generated fly-in, of which we are not responsible for anybody's fun, but we'll still have fun. Send us your ideas to midlifepilotpodcast.com.
Yeah, we need accommodations close by. Try to make it easy for us. So,
yeah.
How about a little housekeeping there, Mr.
We'll make this really quick. Join our Patreon community for Discord access and lots of exclusive content. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. And for everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, feedback, merch, and more, visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And now Ted will hit us with some community updates. Bam.
Excellent. Yeah. We've got some people that joined us on Patreon this week, and I want to say thanks to them for joining us. At the Landomatic level, we have Ben T. At the Hershey Bar level, we have Stephen G. Saratoga Flyer, who, not sure what we think he might fly Saratoga. Not sure.
Or he lives in Saratoga.
Yeah. And Dan C. So thank you, new patrons, for joining us.
Thank you.
I kind of rolled up some of the accomplishments that our crowd has had in the last week or so. Adam V flew his 4-year-old. It was a great picture of his 4-year-old in the plane.
So cool.
Was that a diamond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Adam V just started flying a Cirrus, but he took his son up in the diamond. Yeah.
Okay. Dev Cannon flew Stearman, which is cool.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Alpha Juliet
awesome.
Foxtrot landed on their shortest runway. That's a
Yes.
cool accomplishment, is getting that and being comfortable with it. Zach M flew his wife. They went out to Tango 82. They're in that neighborhood. So
Yeah.
good place to go for the diner.
That's right.
Alex S had their first flight away from the home airport. And Alex is up in Canada, and I think he's still a student. So I think that's his solo flight away from the airport.
Either way, that's the biggest flight.
Yeah.
So good.
Rescue Rat hit 200 hours. And he's got that great tail wheel. I think it's a 140. And he's still in student land, which is fine. And see how that goes.
Yeah.
And Ben, you were on what felt like the longest possible runway.
Yeah. So it's my first time doing this. They have a race called the Atlanta Mayor's 5K on the 5th runway. So you get to run down runway 1028 at Hartsfield International Airport. They shut it down, and you run down. They start midpoint at the taxiway. You run down. You get on 1028. You run down to the end, and then you come back on the other side of the taxiway, and it's a 5K, and it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
What was the RVR?
Yeah.
It was 10,000 feet. It was clearing a million.
What
And the lighting was really cool too, though.
Yeah. What do those centerline lights look like? Because we know what they feel like when you clunk over them.
It's not that big of a bump. It's they were pretty smooth, actually. It felt I was a little surprised by it. I thought somebody might like roll their ankle on them, that kind of a big bump, but no, they really weren't that bad at all.
If you look real close, did they have the Ronco logo on them?
I didn't. I was running in a race. I didn't decide to squat down and inspect each individual light. So I can't really.
As seen on television.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but it was cool just to see different parts of the, did you know that there is a cemetery right in the middle of the airport?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's that one. Yeah.
There is a cemetery.
Is it that runway?
It was just north of that runway.
Okay. So you didn't get to see it though?
No. Well, driving back to the shuttle, so you park off airport and you shuttle into the complex, and then driving back out, you went by it.
That's cool. Yeah.
So tonight we wanted to talk about chipping away or getting the motivation of starting your new rating. And I kind of would have been wanting to hit this topic for a little while because, for a while I've been wanting to start my multi, and I've been wanting to do my tail wheel as well. Now, the tail wheel wasn't for a lack of effort. I just couldn't find a plane that worked. But,
a rating or an endorsement.
A rating or an endorsement. Yeah. Thank you. That's either or, just taking the next step. And for me, we've got a lot that we want to get into on this, but part of it was it's very easy, especially after you get your instrument rating. It's very easy just to stay where you are. Everything's going great. You don't need anything else. And, there's that, it's not complacency, but it's just, it takes some effort to make yourself take the next step to get that next rating. And I know there's a lot of people in our Discord that are doing a lot. And that's been part of what has motivated me. The other part to me is that I'm at the sunset of my current career. And for me to get a job flying, I really need to get my multi plus get some hours under it. So it was time for me to start. But I wanted to open it up and let's go around the horn and talk about challenges. Brian, you're starting your instrument studying. You've flown some under the hood stuff.
Yeah.
And it's, once you get out of that student mode and you're now have built this experience, it's not easy getting back into student mode. Ted, you flew night.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's, getting out of your comfort zone.
I also did a couple approaches in the last couple of weeks, but that's another story.
It's still the same thing. It's getting out of and starting to expand your horizon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because I think as midlife humans, we tend to have we're already sort of on the outer layers of pragmatism by being involved in aviation anyway. And we've already created an incredible house of cards to justify doing this in our lives. That is a very thinly veiled midlife crisis. It's like, could we have gotten a motorcycle? Well, probably already have one, but it wasn't enough, was it? So no, but I guess there's something to be said for. I think that I was talking with someone last night who's not a pilot. And was talking about just how it's one thing to study for something new, to just work the elasticity of the brain. And, I'm a new hobby, or I'm going to learn how to do 3D printing, or I'm going to start gardening, or I don't know. And then you have to do all this research, and we love our sort of research wormholes. That's our favorite thing. And give me a reason to have a research wormhole. And then, it's a hobby, but there's something more intense about the aviation pursuit, because when I'm sitting here studying, what I am for trying to get my instrument written done or whatever, I'm thinking about this stuff, and I'm thinking, this is so that I don't die. You know what I mean? Like this is not, I don't want to die, and I don't want to kill anybody else. And so I should probably learn this stuff properly and as well as I possibly can, and not cut any corners. And this is important, so it's a very different place to be. So I think stepping back to the idea of pursuing new ratings or new endorsements, I think it is easy for us to maybe get a little bit comfortable because we like having the challenge, and we have all been sort of climbing for a while, getting our hours and our experiences. And you want something that is the next thing. But it's not always about comparison. It's not about what your peers are doing. It's just about what's right for you. Don't feel like you have to do these things, is what I would say. But I really believe that, and obviously I'm doing instrument rating out of spite because I'm just tired of hearing people talk about it, and telling me to get my instrument rating. You really should get your instrument rating. It's like, I know. I still don't know how I'm going to get my instrument rating, but what I'm doing, and this is where the trip, fall, succeed method comes in, that I sort of coined this term, I guess. I call it the trip, fall, succeed method, which is you don't need to get so motivated that you are hell bent on getting this rating or doing this thing. You can easily just say, I want to progress in a direction and just chip away at this thing. And since aviation is sanctioned and curriculum based and ACS and all these things, you can just point yourself in that direction and just start chipping away. And if you're not putting too much stock in this, like, I've got to get this done, you can still fly. Most of us, right, we're talking about sort of additional ratings and things, and it's like, I can still go fly and have fun. But now, and what I've been doing for the last several months, is anything I can do that is just aimed slightly more at chipping away. So am I going to spend this time going to do, or like, what can I even be doing en route that would help me towards this rating or this understanding or this experience or this buttonology or this, and just putting myself, get my settings, do these things, start reading these materials, and it becomes a little bit of a snowball. And so where I'm at right now is, I just have one goal, which is, get the least fun part of instrument done, which is the written. And, I am aiming for November to get this written test done. I'm in Erica Gilbert's, IFR ground class with some of our friends from the community, and it's been going great. Although I've also been sandbagging them because I'm an idiot. Like I'm just like, it's very hard for me to learn this stuff. There's like a 20-to-1 ratio. I have to study, I think 20 times as much for what the normal person does, to get to the same thing. But I'm just now starting to see some progress, like I realized a couple of things with holds and holding patterns, why I couldn't learn this. I realized, and by the way, Ben, I just want to just say this, and I think I was talking to you a little bit earlier about this. I was always under this illusion that instrument flying was about precision. Oh, wait, no, it's not. It's actually just, okay, yeah, it's about precision, but like it's hedged a little bit, right? So anyway, I don't want to just get into this whole thing. I don't want to make this about the instrument rating, but I made a couple of just distinctions where it took me learning from 5 different entities and ways to realize, if you just draw the heading inbound to the fix, that's number 1. And then number 2, just realize you've got to fly over the fix. And once you understand that, then it's really easy to just look at it and go, okay, I understand what entry needs to happen here. It's not even remotely difficult if you just fly over the fixed from where you are, and then go, oh, okay, well, what is the least insane turn that I could possibly make? That's the one that's going to be so. Anyway,
and nobody ever teaches you, here's how you do it. Fly over the fix and make the least insanely turn to do it.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's like do the one that's not most like a graveyard spiral.
Here's what I found in every rating. I guess I have high performance, but anyway, endorsement rating, whatever it may be, private, instrument, commercial. It feels like, and I think maybe this is a midlife thing. It feels like you're standing in front of a cliff that you've got to somehow get up on top of. But as you're saying, you chip away at it, then all of a sudden the cliff just seems like a little bit of a slope.
Yep.
And it just gets a little bit easier. So for multi, I did my private and my instrument and my commercial in the same plane. I knew that plane inside and out. I still know it inside and out. But for multi, I'm in a new plane and I am way out of my comfort zone. I don't know where half the things are in the plane, much less it's, I've got to now worry about fuel pumps. I don't have to worry about that in a high wing airplane. I've got A, B, C, and D that I don't have to worry about in my airplane. And I'm having to learn this. And for the first probably 4 or 5 lessons, I felt like I was behind the airplane before I got to the airport. But then that moment hit, and now things just started kind of happening again. I feel like I'm over the cliff part, and now I'm just kind of climbing up the hill. So we've been doing a lot of single engine operations, and I feel like now it's really starting to sink in. Landings were like the first one. This always happens to me. The first landing in an airplane I haven't flown yet was awesome, and then it just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
And but the last set were reasonable. We're actually pretty decent landings. It's starting to click now, and that happened during private, and that happened during instrument. Brian, you were faced with this mountain of information, and now it's starting to kind of gel a little bit. And I want, I guess, all our listeners out there to know that I was scared that I was going to be in the situation that I was when I was first starting, and that's why I think I didn't start the training sooner. But you just got to jump in and just start going after it. It will come to you. If you've gotten your private and you're doing your instrument, it's just these hurdles you've got to jump. Ted, you've learned a ton of you've flown 730 different types of airplanes. You've got to know what I'm talking about.
I did back in the day, right? Before I bought my plane, because I was trialing to figure out what I wanted to fly. And then I've flown my plane for a zillion 100 hours. But with the sport pilot thing opening up, I've been flying the school's planes. And so far I've flown both of their 152s, and I have on the schedule to fly their 172s. And to get in a different plane, even a 152, it's just weird. And I get your feeling with multi, which is obviously the exact opposite of getting into 152, but it's like, wait, so where are the switches that you need to start this? Like, and getting into those procedures of coming in, for me, it's usually coming in, on final to land. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. Carb heat. I haven't had to worry about carb heat. I think I've only flown one plane in the past that had it. So it's like, that's not built into my routine.
Mm-hmm.
So to go fly these and, obviously completely different avionics, everything about them is different from what I'm used to.
No coffee maker,
no cup holders. And it's been a great experience because I need to break out of, what I'm comfortable with, what I'm really comfortable with, but flying's about more than that one plane.
Talking about comfort levels. So, multi-engine, retractable gear.
Yeah.
So you have to practice, your emergency gear extension. I have started taking yoga so I can be better at because there's a handle that they keep that you have to bend and like do the downward facing dog maneuver to get to it. And then there's the cover to pull up that you use the handle on. The gear, you just basically open up a valve and the gravity brings the gear down and locks it down. But it's like, I'm surprised I haven't thrown my back out yet.
Yeah.
So it's just so many different things that it's just outside of my, just what I'm used to. But again, I'm loving it. It's, you got to kind of really embrace that. And, like to say, embrace the suck. You're going to have to stink it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, so do you think that a lot of this has to do with, we hear a lot from the people that are chasing ratings, and this is something that is great. People are, we've seen, I think about people like Evan, or people like this, where it's like, we don't hear from Evan for a couple months and then he checks back in and it's like, well, I'm an AGI, I'm an IGI,
commercial glider.
Right. Like,
yeah.
I actually now own the Goodyear blimp, it's like every aspect of aviation. So, but I think that there's people where, I think all of us tend to crave the challenge, but I think that also it's possible to get a little comfortable, where you are. And even though in your heart of hearts, you want to pursue a new rating, it is, for many of us, financially prohibitive or circumstantially prohibitive. It took a massive amount of sacrifice just to get your private and or your instrument just to get to that level. And then there's a period of kind of evening out where you got to let the water settle a little bit of just the commitment and, trying to remember who your family is again and, all of that. So I can see how for a lot of people it's, and then you settle into that sort of routine of, weekend flying and all of that. But I think that if we're just trying to talk about this for any reason, it's more just to say, man, it's just we're just trying to posit, I think, the idea that you can do the smallest things and still be in pursuit of something without feeling like, oh, well, everybody else, this seems to happen so easily for everybody else. They just go get another rating or whatever. Ben is about to have, freaking spinal surgery just so he can do the, the landing gear. I mean, so we all have our own challenges. Ted has no espresso maker in his, and these other planes he's flying.
It's terrible. Yeah.
And,
how does he stay awake? I just want to know.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I'll just say, for my pursuits here, I think that I've just been kind of dipping in and out of this for probably a couple of years pretty well. And I've never been in a spot where I felt like I had any real traction with it until just the last few days. And it's predicated though on a lot of that preliminary work that I just dabbled in, and I planted seeds for everywhere. And I kind of, waited around while I was doing other things. And then now I've got enough points mentally of the sort of the constellation of things to start piecing it together. And then actually, I think that momentum seeps in rather quickly if you've just done a bunch of exploratory poking around and without necessarily committing to the full idea of committing to the full endeavor. I don't, but I do feel like I'm trip fall succeeding. Like I don't want to sit here and say, I want to get my commercial. I want to get my multi. I want to fly King Airs, and I want to do maritime research flying, but I kind of want to do that. Right. So I'm just kind of like, instead of trying to bite off all of that, it's like, well, let me just see if I can get through understanding holds and why the way that everybody explains them is insane.
So what caused you to actually start jumping into instrument? Was it just that 8,000 people have bothered you and said you should be doing this? Yeah.
It is partially that spite, but no, it's really just it's something that I wanted to do and I'm curious about anyway. And then there's also there's these weird little thresholds that you reach where it's like you dabble a little bit and then you start to go, oh, I'm starting to understand how much I don't know about this thing. And then that creates a spark of curiosity. So it's like, let me just try to fly some coupled approaches and see how that goes in the plane, practice approaches. And then you're like, oh, well, okay, I see. I'm starting to marry up what I'm seeing with what the plane is doing. And there's some seedlings of understanding there. And then, I did a couple flights with CFW tailwheel, CFII bin, and it was kind of loose, but we did some stuff, and it was like, and then I realized how much, even what I had learned so far in the few lessons that I'd had in my individual study, I realized very quickly how that was making me better as just a VFR pilot and how I had more tools to make me safer already outside of just, you're certainly going to die if you go into a cloud and, people vaporize. It's like the Bermuda Triangle, it's like,
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm there, but I'm just saying, little things like when I got my numbers and I was like, oh, okay. So now I know exactly how to make this plane go 90 knots in various configurations and either hold altitude or descend in a stable descent, approach. Well, cool. Now, if I ever lose my airspeed, no problem, so little things like that.
Yeah. Well, in terms of motivation, I think one of the things is being in midlife, most of us at least aren't chasing ratings, going straight from private to instrument to commercial to CFI, like doing that grind, the 20-year-old grind. If you are, that's fine, but that doesn't seem to be our audience. And in some ways, I always think about it as kind of like late blooming, slow learner, whatever you want to call it. I had zero desire or understanding why I would possibly want to fly at night or fly instrument for about 200 hours. It didn't, and that was the point where it's like, oh, okay, I understand what I'm missing now. I didn't care about it before then, and that's okay. You don't need to start this stuff immediately or as soon as you hit just enough hours to start your instrument. Most of us are flying for a purpose, either because you want to fly somewhere, you want the accomplishment, you want to fly with other people, whatever that is. Enjoy that, right? Don't stay in this grind of I guess as an introvert, especially, that having a CFI next to you, right? It's a grind. And so enjoy the flying, get out of the pattern and just do it. So I think that's kind of the counter argument of you don't need to start it immediately. And I think Brian, you're a great example of that, of trips out to Texas are good reminders of why instrument might be nice to have.
Sure.
And those aren't things that you get with 120 hours. It's when you're doing the flying that you like doing. So, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So you touched on it, Brian, and some of the things I kind of want to, I totally agree with you, and then I kind of want to further the point. So I was gone for almost 2 weeks, or it's been 2 weeks or even longer since my last multi-lesson. But you talk about chair flying or studying or just planting those seedlings and start just feeding your brain the information. I've got this document that my instructor has given me that goes through, I'm basically studying for the oral for my check ride, but I'm also going through, I've got feedback or debriefs from each flight that we've taken, and I've taken detailed notes. So while I was away and couldn't fly, I had long plane rides. I had a lot of time to sit there, and it's just now starting all to kind of sink in. And again, repetition, you just got to pound that information. And to your point, if you're thinking about getting that next endorsement, if you're thinking about getting that next rating, open up a book and start doing the research and start looking into it. There are a million resources out there.
But without the burden of, I'm on the track now, I've committed to this.
Without a doubt. No, you do it at your own leisure. But start opening your mind up to what's out there is all I'm saying. Just start introducing topics into your brain is all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that you go out there and pursue it. It's at your leisure. And
are your notes after being on the plane to Europe sort of like, wait a minute, a question is to ask my multi-instructor, where are the slats on the Duchess? I'm seeing some differences here.
Yeah. They both only have 2 engines, but what is the the Duchess E-tops capable?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, thanks for going through that. I really appreciate it. I mean, and please keep the conversation going in the Discord, and send us your trip, fall, succeed stories.
Yeah. It's the same rewarding feeling. Once the things start clicking, it's that gratification that you've taken the next step. There's something to be said for that.
I love this from Nathan Ballard. He says, "Took me 27 years to go from commercial to CFI. We are all on our own pace." So our good friend Nathan serves to be the slowest person to compare ourselves to, right? It's not going to take you. It's not. You might be able to. You know what? I might be able to get the instrument done in 26 years.
There you go.
I'll be 79.
I like. To your point, though, what John in the chat said. Instructor friend said, "Private, multi, and commercial are all great, but instrument can save your life."
Do you think the planes we're flying right now, by the time we're really, really old, like how much further are we away from my Cherokee 180 being something that kids pay to take a ride in at a fair?
It becomes the Boeing Stearman.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, look at this.
Yeah.
This is this relic from the past. No, it's an awesome topic. I want to keep some of this stuff going because this is about as midlife as it gets, right? So
most definitely.
Thanks.
So chat. And listen, go find a pilot buddy that you can have as a safety pilot and just go under the hood. That doesn't cost you anything additional other than your normal expense.
Yep.
Again, study the ground school stuff and just start committing stuff. And like I said, connect with other pilots. And I've been doing that with multi. My mentor that's down in South Georgia, he actually did his multi-engine rating in a Duchess. So that really does help me out a lot. So yeah. We got some feedback in. while we've been out.
Yeah.
And Brian, do you want to take the first one?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Nathan's comment here. It's Cherokee 180 Warbird.
What does that make the 182 cargo plane?
The 182 will be like the Ford tri-motor experience.
C-130 of general aviation.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, listener feedback. Listen, we got a few of these to go through, and we're going to do this as quick as possible. But this whole quick as possible is inspired by a feedback that we got that I thought was fantastic, and I wanted to read it. It was from Ryan G. And, we read our 5-star reviews and we read, these things. Ryan G., while appreciating the podcast, had a few things to say. And it's honestly pains that I've been feeling about how do we get our script or our structure to be tighter, because a lot of the things are just iterations of growth that happened when you guys came on around episode 40 to 50, around there. We were sort of trying to get the word out to people that, these are different people on the podcast now, and we want people to understand what's happening here. And we were in a significant growth period with the podcast itself. And so we felt that we were getting enough net new people every week that it felt important to kind of reintroduce ourselves and all that. But we, based on this feedback, have made some changes. I'm just going to read this feedback real quick. Ryan G says, disclaimer, you are the only podcast I listen to. So that's a good thing. He says, I think the introductions, belly scrub, house cleaning, all are monotonous and take 5+ minutes to complete and don't add much, if any, value to recurring listeners. I agree. When I get to the end of the episode, I'm like, that's it? Shouldn't there be more? If only they spent less time in the beginning. Perhaps you can save the belly scrubs and the house cleaning for the information whiskey episodes. And then he offered, you can't criticize something, right, without offering a solution, right? So he does this. He says, paraphrasing, he says, hey, everyone, welcome back to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. I've got Ted, Brian, etc. Ted, Brian, etc. here with me. And tonight we're going to talk about XYZ. Before we dive into that, does anyone have any recent flying adventures? And then he goes on to say, if this is something all podcasts do for purposes of new listeners, then disregard. So I did not disregard. I actually replied and said, yo, this is great. And that's why you heard at the top of the show a tighter intro, and we're gonna stick to it. I hope you guys like the lack of words, and then we appreciate all the feedback like this. Please tell us all the things we're doing wrong, and maybe we'll fix some of them, but we probably won't. But
we fix this one, and don't forget, leave us a 5-star review. It'll get read. Yeah,
you can leave us a 5-star review with all the things you hate about the podcast.
Exactly.
So,
in another 100 episodes, we may change something.
That's right. We're just slow. I mean, to be clear, it's not, if you're getting episodes every week in your podcast player, which you should be by subscribing to the thing or whatever, but we've actually been on the longest break that we've ever had since we started this podcast. And so it gave us time to retool some things and all of that. I mean, well, Ben's eating pasta in Europe, and but that's retooling. So anyway, so thank you for that again. So let's get through the next stuff.
Yeah. So Wendell Geek did a check ride debrief with Rachel in Australia. It's always great to get these non-US based experiences and compare and contrast those. Cool. But listener in Discorder, Bradley, wrote in and said, as a fellow West Aussie about to reset, I think it's like revisit. Do again. About to reset my PPL check ride in a couple days. This debrief came at a great time. You've done Down Under proud, Rachel, and congratulations. I'm still a little bit amazed that your first time soloing in a 172 was the day before your flight test. That is fantastic. So it's great hearing. And that was yesterday or a few days ago when you are listening to this podcast. So we'll have to see how Bradley did on that.
Yeah. And for those of you who may not know, our Patreon members get access to these check ride debriefs that our listeners, we invite them to tell us about what happened on the check ride. And there's a lot of stuff that you can get out of it. So don't forget.
And they're intentionally kept behind that firewall so that we can be open about what we say and not feel like this is something that's going out in public.
Right.
So it's definitely helped a lot of people through their check rides.
Our third piece of feedback comes from Alpha Tango, also known as Tony. He said, "Hey boys, 43, just passed PPL after 2 years, 4 instructors, and a handful of funny stories. Love the podcast and can relate to every episode. Let's chat." Well, Tony, I want to hear at least one of these funny stories.
Yes.
So definitely email us if you're in the Discord. Tell us about it, but definitely let us know what's been happening with you. So, and congratulations on passing the PPL. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really go.
So, Brian, you want to get the last one?
All right. From Dave H. He says, I was driving around town listening to episode 144 to help my 3-month-old nap. Unclear whether it was the driving or voices, which were the sleep aid.
I'm going to go on a limb and say it was probably our voices.
And at, which would be funny if he reveals later on, it's a Harley Davidson. Okay. So yeah, driving around town, listening to episode 144 to help my 3-month-old nap. Unclear whether it was driving or voices or sleep aid. Okay. And at 21 minutes, 20 seconds, right as Ted said, the name of the burger place was Twin Peaks, I passed the North Bend, Washington post office. Just a few blocks earlier, I had turned at Tweed's Cafe. Fun little intersection of worlds. Cheers, Dave H. from just outside the Coffee Bravo. How cool is that?
Yeah. I mean, North Bend's up in the, I don't know how he's saying he's driving around town and was at North Bend, but yeah, it's a cool place. And I thought that as well, that it was strange that this place is named Twin Peaks and it's not where Twin Peaks was filmed. So I'd been thinking about that at the same time. I remember going to that cafe and eating one evening when I lived in Seattle. It's a cool place. And Dave H is Dave Honan, Instagram DW Honan. He's a great aviation photographer, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Yes.
So, we don't promote people necessarily, but David's been a great friend of the show and a great friend of OB, and his photos are always great.
Does some really great work. So we decided to, during this retooling effort, to add a new segment, if you will. I think that's what you TV people type call it. So we decided to call it the Midlife Pilot Confessional. Somebody posted, and I'm going to let Brian read this, but somebody posted in Discord something that happened on their flight. And then so we just started talking about this, and I told Brian, I was like, I can fill this probably for the next 3 or 4 months with confessionals of things that I've done. And I think everybody else can. So we're going to leave it anonymous. We don't want to give anybody any trouble. Although this is really not that situation where somebody would get in trouble. But so Brian, do you want to hit this bit of feedback?
So this will be our last sort of quick hit segment before we head out. But I do love this idea. Really brought to us we have a flight debrief channel in our Discord where people share debriefs of recent flights, and so oftentimes when we debrief, we realize that boy, did we screw that up, kind of thing. And I love it. I don't know. There's so many, I think, people that mask or temper or outright conceal mistakes that they've made. And I just don't think that's a healthy thing to do. I think you got to be really open about the mistakes you make and share them with other people so that we can feel better about ourselves and our own inadequacy. So, no, but in reality, I just think it's healthy to share this stuff. And so anyway, Midlife Pilot Confessional, new segment. You listener right now, go to midlifepilotpodcast.com and tell us your confessional. In the meantime, here's the first one of many more. And if we don't get any to start for a while, Ben will fill the void.
Should we start with Father, forgive me for I have?
Well, that's a little, maybe we can make a variation on that.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. So Midlife Pilot Confessional. Here we go. And this is anonymized, airports and stuff. So we're always going to make sure it's anonymized. So if the person, anyway, all right. Successful 9-hour round trip from airport 1 to airport 2 and back to go to our relative's wedding. It started off with me making a new to me mistake. I'd entered the first handful of fixes into the old 430 WAS. You can already tell where this is going. As I've been learning the buttonology of the 530 WAS for instrument, I just realized geez, this is, oh God. Anyway, handful of fixes into the old 430 WAS. Tower told me to hold short for landing traffic, and I could see he had 3 that would be landing before I would be able to get out. So I started jamming the rest of the flight plan into the box. Throughout, I was hearing ATC talking away, finishing entering fixes right after the 3rd arrival landed and started paying closer attention to the radio. I was hearing things like radar contact and expect the visual. That ain't right. Checked the frequencies and somehow I had swapped over to approach, which was loaded into the standby. I switched back to tower just in time to hear a very exasperated controller call me with an, "Are you on this frequency?" I muttered something about having an avionics error. I love that. I'm having an avionics. I mean, it's true.
He wasn't wrong. Yeah, exactly.
I'm having an error in the context of avionics. Yes. And so he says, yeah, I'm having an avionics error, but I'm back now and was cleared for takeoff. The worst part was I know I had another departure waiting behind me. I'm not above messing up, but that one made me feel like a special kind of idiot. Not sure what the takeaways are here other than, quote, buy a flight stream or, quote, don't be an idiot, but posting here in the Midlife Pilot Podcast Confessional to get it off my chest. So I love this. And it just goes to show that it's like, oh, wow. Pretty much everybody can raise their hand and say that they've done this or something very akin to this. Ben?
We'll save it for you future. I mean, there's been many a time where you've over-rotated the knob when you're dialing in a frequency by, one click.
Yeah. And
wondering why nobody's responding to you and also wondering why nobody else is on the frequency.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, again, it does make you feel like an idiot, but you're in very, very good company.
Or the radio failure of the volume being turned down.
That's, we got a dozen times, I can tell you. Send us your Midlife Pilot confessionals. Go to midlifepilotpodcast.com and tell us how we will, no names will be read, locations, nothing.
Yeah. And this is not about opinions either, man. It's really just about being open enough to mention this stuff. Everybody's going to have a thought, right? People are going to say, well, maybe don't try to do 1,000 things with your avionics when you're in that spot or whatever. A lot of these things are more easily said than done. We are not here to be CFIs or to tell people we're not here to solve the problem. We're just celebrating the idea that people have the humility to express these moments. And the more that is in the culture, and people can safely just say these things without it feeling like a bunch of internet keyboard warriors are going to come at them with, well, I don't want to say this, but this, we're not going to read any feedback that comes in about, hey, that Midlife Pilot confessional, that guy should have done this. We're not getting into that. This is really just about fostering a spirit of openness, and just being open to learning those lessons. And we trust that people are figuring out the answers to these things on their own.
Very cool. Everybody, please leave us if you'll go and give us a review, we would really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app if you haven't done that already. Gentlemen, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, it's just good to be back with you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. Tonight's bit of wisdom, kind of on the instrument route. Steam gauges, because sometimes your best friend is a needle with a twitch. Signing off, episode 147, the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.